Thinking about moving to Destin, Florida? Well, hold on tight, because in this video, I'm going to reveal 7 facts that you absolutely need to know before making the leap. And I'm a local realtor here, so buckle up. I know the ins and outs of this city intimately. Let's get into it. Listen, Destin comes with a ton of really good things. There's a reason why I still live here. When the military moved me here, and I did not want to move away when I got out, I just couldn't leave this area. But there are some things that you need to know before moving down here, and some of these are a game changer, especially the last one. So without sugarcoating it, let's get into the 7 things that you need to know before moving to Destin, starting with number 1, the cost of living. Now, the overall cost of living here, groceries and utilities and insurance and all of that fun stuff is about on par with the rest of the country. But there is one pretty big downfall of the cost of living here, and that is the housing prices. Particularly that the average price here in Destin, Florida is currently sitting at $670,000. It's technically $669 and some change, but we'll call it $670 for even numbers. And that also includes the condos. That's not just all single-family homes. Now, a lot of that's because it is a tourist city and because the inventory is very limited, because it's just a 3 or 4 mile stretch of a city. So it's not got a lot of options in that realm, but because of that, it causes the prices to go up. So if you're looking to live directly inside of the city, which a lot of people don't do, they go to one of the outskirts. But if you are planning on living inside of the city, be prepared to spend a pretty penny. You can definitely pay under $400K for a home, but it's not going to give you a whole lot of options. And then, of course, that number can scale from $670 all the way up to the multi-millions and millions of dollars, depending on the type of property that you're looking for. If you'd like to be beachfront in Destin, it is going to cost a good penny. Now, while we are on this subject, I am a real estate agent first and run a real estate team here in the area with specialists in every single city from Pensacola to Panama City Beach. So if you are thinking about moving, even after all the terrible things I'm about to say about Destin, then go ahead and give us a call. All of our information is up on the screen. You can call me, text me, send an email, or private message us on social media, or however it is that you'd like to get a hold of us. And the second big thing you have to know is the tourism. A lot of people find Destin because they come down here as a tourist, maybe every year, maybe once or twice, and then they kind of fall in love with the area, and I don't blame them. But ultimately, it turns this 14,000 person town to 25,000 people overnight. And that's kind of a lot when it's just a 3 or 4 mile stretch of a city. Now, don't get me wrong, I personally love our tourists because I like saving money. And because we have all the tourism in the state of Florida, we don't have to pay any state income tax, which I really do appreciate. But when you're moving to a place like Destin, Florida, especially if you're going to live inside of the city and not in one of the suburbs, then you're going to have to deal with some of the tourism, which means you're going to have to deal with the restaurants being a little bit more crowded, not getting the same kind of service you generally would in the winter and spring months, because that's when a lot of us like to go out and kind of enjoy ourselves, because most of the tourists are gone, except for spring break. They all come back. But the point of this is some of the service goes down just a little bit. And of course, that means more lines for some of your favorite places. And probably the biggest downfall is the traffic congestion that comes with it. When you turn a town that has an infrastructure of 14,000 people and put 25,000 people in its exact place, then, well, things are going to get a little bit busy. Now, Destin's done a very good job of trying to alleviate some of this, but sometimes just getting through that 3 or 4 mile stretch of Destin, where it would normally take 5 to 7 minutes, sometimes takes 30 minutes or even longer. There was one time I was coming from Destin into Fort Walton Beach, so I had to cross from east to west, and it took me 2 hours and 9 minutes to go 8.5 miles. Now, that's not normal. That is because there were extenuating circumstances and wrecks and stuff up ahead, but it still doesn't make us feel very good when you have to sit in traffic for that long. In fact, it makes us want to scream. And it didn't help that at the time I was driving a 1985 Chevy pickup truck that didn't have any air conditioner, and it was in the dead of summer, and it was brutally, brutally hot. Which brings us to our third really, really big downfall of living here in Destin, and that is the summer heat and humidity. Listen, let's just call it what it is. It is brutally hot here in the summertime, particularly June, July, and August. Those are our 3 hottest months, and it doesn't feel good. Now, when you look at it on paper, it doesn't sound like it's all that hot. If you look at it, you do a quick Google search, you'll see that it generally ranges from about 60 degrees on the low end, all the way up to 91 degrees on the high end. But that's not telling the whole picture. 91 degrees in and of itself is already kind of warm, but then you add just a bucket of humidity and it makes it just a little bit more warm. Warm's not even the right word. It's hot. When you come out of your house, you just shower, you're about to start the day, from going from my front door to my truck, there's just a little bit of moisture in the air, and it just makes me feel just a little bit like, holy cow, I just showered and now I'm wet again. Now, it's not always like that by any means, but there are days where it is, and it's not exactly the most fun. And for you ladies out there that are worried about your aesthetic look and your beautiful hair, it's hard to manage your hair out here. I've got a lot of girls on this team that I'm hearing about it every single summer on how the humidity messes up my hair, or especially the girls that do the videos with me, Miss AJ and Miss Kristen. I hear all the time that, like, when we're going out shooting videos for this channel or otherwise, it's just a lot of work, and they're having to bring products with them to make sure that their hair stays in tip-top shape for the videos. Which means if you are going to be going out and about or going shopping or just enjoying the Destin life, you might have to deal with the same thing. That is, of course, if you have beautiful locks of hair. As you can see, I don't really have to worry about that as much. I keep mine nice and short. So for the dudes out there that don't really care about putting a ton of product in their hair and making it look pretty at all times, you'll be just fine. And lastly, on the summer heat and humidity is the sun. Okay, as you can see here, look at my skin. I'm a very pale individual. Okay, this is not a good look for me when I turn beet red like a lobster, and that happens so quickly out here. To put it in perspective, I keep sunblock here in my office. I keep some in both of my vehicles and as well at my house. And it's for everyday use during the summer times, especially if I'm going to be out and about. Now, if I'm going straight from my house to the car to my office, then I don't have to worry about it as much. But I do have to keep it in the vehicle because, like I said earlier, sometimes we hit traffic. And if we hit traffic and I've got the windows down, I'm trying to enjoy the amazing air out here, then I need to make sure that I'm lathering up, particularly my driver's arm, as this might be sticking out the window. It's not a good look when one arm is completely burnt and the other is just super pale. Trust me. The fourth thing on our list is one that we get asked about probably more than anything else on this channel. If you go to some of the comment sections, which, by the way, we love hearing from you guys, so don't hesitate to comment down below. If you've got a thought, whatever, just put it down below. It doesn't matter, good, bad, or ugly. But the point is, if you look at the comments or take some of the phone calls that we have to take, a lot of times this is the one that comes up, and it's hurricanes. I get it. Hurricanes sound scary. They seem scary online. You're looking at it from the Weather Channel and people talking about it. You've got that guy that's going around chasing hurricanes. It is a big deal for a hurricane, and that's 100% accurate. Hurricanes are a big deal. They cause damage. They can cause death. Now, generally, we alleviate that because luckily with a hurricane, we have a ton of notice. We know a week and a half in advance if it's coming our direction. We know 4 days in advance if it's going to hit our area. We know 2 days in advance for sure where it's going, or at least a pretty good indicator within a few, little degrees of movement, so that we can completely get out of town if we need to. But that's still not exactly fun to leave your home and all of your stuff back behind in your house as you flee north to get out of the hurricane's path, or east or west, depending on which direction you decide to go. Hurricanes do, in fact, cause a lot of damage. We had a girl that was living on the water here, Miss AJ, that's on our team, and her house was hit pretty good with it. And it took her boat and threw it in the yard. It took a neighbor's boat and threw it in the yard. It destroyed her dock. And it put about 3 or 4 feet of water underneath her home, which luckily was on stilts, so it didn't cause any damage to the property itself, but it still caused a lot of havoc and a lot of kind of emotional pain with her having a small child, and at the time living there alone, and she had to escape to a neighbor's house. I kind of laugh there. I don't mean to. It is a very scary situation. And hurricanes are like that sometimes. It is a part of living here. If you live here your entire life, or let's say for the next 20 years, on average, you're going to see at least one decent-sized hurricane hit this area. Now, you'll see a ton of smaller hurricanes or, tropical storms and things like that. But to be honest, when you live here all the time, these houses are built very well. We don't really have to worry about those as much. Even a Category 1 or 2 hurricane is not even enough for most of us to balk at. In fact, I generally don't even wake up in the middle of the night if we get hit with a Category 1 or 2 hurricane as I am sleeping. But I am a heavy sleeper, so take that for what it's worth. Now, if you are thinking about moving down anywhere in this area and hurricanes are a problem for you, don't worry. We have a great hurricane checklist. We're going to throw it down in the description down below. And hopefully, if we're able to, we're going to put it as the first comment as well, where we put, hey, contact us here. Here's all this cool information. We always comment on our videos on the first comment so that you guys can get some additional information if you would like it. So we do have a good hurricane checklist for you there, and we can help get you prepped for that, and so that you know that it's really not that big of a deal. The big thing with hurricanes is make sure that you have a hurricane kit at home. It's not that difficult. Throw some water and some food in there. There's some other supplies. It's all on the checklist. And then, of course, you're going to want any adult beverages to get you through the storm if that is your style. Obviously, if you don't drink, don't do that. But you get the point. We call it hurricane parties out here, and it's just a fun little way to pass the time and enjoy the hurricane with some friends or family. Those are all definitely big downfalls of it, but there are some other downfalls we need to discuss as well. So number 5 on our list is the limited job opportunities here in Destin. Destin, Florida, in all of its great glory, has so many cool things, but job opportunities is not high on their list. And it's not that surprising. If I were to tell you that any other small town in America of 14,000 people didn't have a ton of job opportunities, you would go, well, yeah, that makes sense. It's only a 14,000 person town. Well, please keep in mind that that is Destin. It is only a 14,000 person town. It is a small town that just has a lot of tourists that flock to it. So because of that, most of your job opportunities are going to be fairly limited within the city. Now, if you're working in hospitality or customer service or hospitality, those are going to be the 3 big ones that we generally see inside of the city. Of course, if you were looking for work outside of the city, if you just want to live in Destin, you really loved it, you like going to all the hot spots, and you just want to live in the city, maybe you're working from home or you're willing to commute a little bit, we've got lots of options around the area, particularly if you are a civilian contractor for government work. Over there in Fort Walton, which is just about a 7 or 8 mile drive, depending on where at in Destin you are, there are a ton of opportunities to work with some of the bigger contractors that do a lot of stuff with the U.S. military. And they pay fairly well, depending on your experience, of course. So if you like that portion and you don't mind that commute, which would be perfectly fine leaving Destin, it would be mainly going into Destin that you'll get a little bit of that traffic, then that might be a perfectly suitable option. Or, of course, working from home if you've got that ability and enjoy it. I know a lot of people don't like working from home, but I think I might be the minority there. I like working from an office personally, but to each their own. Number 6 is one that is still a pretty big con for people that enjoy this sort of thing. And that is the distance to major urban centers, bigger cities, basically. So you have 2 options that are very close, and they're each 1 hour and 9 minutes away, according to Google. I actually think it's a little bit faster than that, but maybe I speed a little bit. I don't know. But my point is, it's a little over an hour to go to both Panama City Beach as well as Pensacola. And when I did the Google Maps, this is to Panama City Beach, not technically Panama City Beach as the main epicenter. This is the actual beach section of it. So it would probably take you about another 10 or 15 minutes to get into the heart of Panama City Beach as well. So for those of you that like the direct shopping and cool little shops that come with a larger urban environment, then that is how far you're going to have to drive. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not a lot to do in the Destin or direct surrounding areas. For those that like shopping, for instance, we have the Silver Sands Outlet Mall, which is like 140 different stores or something. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember how many it is, but it is a lot. It's got to be over 100, I'm pretty sure. But it is a ton of brand name stores all across, from like Under Armour and Nike and Sunglass Hut and Tommy Bahama and Columbia, and I could keep going on and on and on. It is a lot of really big brands in an outdoor outlet mall. And then, of course, you've got Destin Commons right there in the heart of Destin that also has a large chunk of shopping. So from the shopping aspects, you might not need that unless you're looking for something very specific that some of the bigger cities provide. And, of course, if you're looking to get to some of the nightlife that both Panama City Beach and Pensacola provide, like Palafox in Pensacola, for instance, then you are going to need to make that drive in order to enjoy that. And just to give you a little hint, an Uber to and from there is wildly expensive. Ask me how I know. And before we get into the next con, I do want to say, hey, thank you for making it this far. If you did, I really appreciate you guys. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap that little bell so that you'll be notified every single time we do a new video. We do videos all along the Emerald Coast, everything from Panama City to Pensacola, and of course, everything in between. And we do these every single week, and sometimes we pop off an extra video every week to give you guys a nice little bonus. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you won't miss out. I promise it's not all negative material. In fact, a lot of it is just promoting the area. But we have to be realistic here, because the last thing I want is for somebody to move, give us a call, we help them move in here, and then they absolutely hate it. I would rather be up front first so that we don't even go through that hassle. Okay, number seven on my list is the one that drives me nuts the most. Now, I don't live directly in Destin, so this is sort of an overall Emerald Coasting, as a lot of these things are, except maybe the housing prices and the tourism. But here's the thing, bugs. Bugs is my number 7. I don't like the bugs. I'm not a fan of the bugs. We have bugs. We have mosquitoes that are the size of pterodactyls. I always make that joke, and they're not even that big. I've been to all over the country when I was active duty military, and Afghanistan in particular. They literally were pterodactyls. I mean, these freaking mosquitoes with their legs were like, I keep going like this, like they're really that big. They're really not. They're like this. Ours are still smaller than that, but they are still fairly big. And mosquitoes are the least of my worries out of all of the bugs and wildlife and stuff I'm about to talk about. But they are definitely here. I'm very fortunate. I very rarely get bitten. I'm still recovering from one little bite that happened here on my arm from about a week ago, but that's about it. Maybe I get hit a couple of times per year, and that's about it for me for mosquitoes. But I do know that some people get hit with them all the time. So if you don't like them, you don't want to get bitten, and you've just got that sweet blood running through your system that they love so much, just make sure you carry some bug spray, throw it on your wrists. I prefer the more organic stuff that's a little bit better for your body, but it's up to you on whatever you'd like to use. But the one that I hate the most, the thing that I hate, you guys, if you guys are watching this channel and you've been watching this channel, you've heard me say it before, it's the palmetto bugs, okay? I call them roaches. Most people call them roaches. They look like roaches, but bigger, and they fly. They fly. They fly in the air. A roach that flies in the air. Not a little itty bitty tiny roach, like a big monster roach. Like literally, I'm not even exaggerating. Like this isn't an exaggeration. Look at that right there. Look at that. It's like bigger than my eyeball. It's huge. They're huge, okay? Now, they don't do anything, and they don't get in your house because your house is disgusting. They're like a gecko or a lizard or something like that. They just kind of get in, which, by the way, we get like geckos and stuff, which isn't a con to me, but like these little tiny cute geckos like this are just like running around your house. It's very rare, again, that they get in because they don't want to be in there because it's colder in there than it is outside, and they like being outside, whatever. But like both of these things are things that you might see from time to time. Now, I see one inside of my home about once every year, literally one every year, and I call my pest people immediately the next day, and I'm like, hey, I saw one, come inside and spray, and they'll come out and spray. I pay like, I think it's $350 a year for them to spray the outside, and they will spray the inside anytime I want. Anytime. So if I see a bug, I call them, they spray the inside, they get the nooks and crannies, buy all the faucets and things that might have a small weep hole or something. Weep hole's not the right word, but a small hole in it that bugs can get in and out, and they spray it and they take care of it, and I don't have to worry about it again. But it is still something that is out here. It is still something you are going to see from time to time, and they don't generally fly at you. In fact, most of the time you're not going to see them flying, but I just don't like them, okay? I don't like them, all right? And I don't think a lot of other people like them either. And that's not the only wildlife we have to consider here. Now, one of the other questions we get asked a lot outside of the hurricanes, the second most popular asked question to us is gators. What about gators? Do we have gators? Or sometimes they call them crocodiles. They are two different things. But we have gators up here in the panhandle. I think crocodiles are a little bit more further south. Yeah, we have gators, but they're extremely rare. Like, it's not even worth talking about most of the time, but I have to bring it up because people ask about it all the time. Like, they're everywhere. Like, they're just floating around the streets. And I get it. There are videos out there that shows, an alligator or sometimes even a crocodile sitting in somebody's backyard. And you hear stories of them taking dogs and, on really bad occasions, children and stuff. Sucks, but it's not out here. It really doesn't happen. I have seen gators on a couple of occasions. I have seen 2 so far at golf courses, okay? 2 different golf courses. I've seen one sitting around a lake, and neither one of them were big enough to even worry about. Like, they were basically big dogs, but not as furry and fun to play with. I don't think. But those are the only times I've seen them out in public, other than one other time, which is at a place called Fudpuckers, which is a restaurant that they have gators there. It's literally a moat around the restaurant at the bottom that they have a bunch of gators that they take care of and, feed and all of that good stuff. And sometimes they will have a job for like a 15, 16-year-old kid. They walk around. It's called a gator handler. They literally rest it on their, little baby gator right here. It's got its mouth closed shut so it can't bite anybody or anything, not like it really would. And it just goes around and the kids can pet it and enjoy it, or the adults can pet it too, and just enjoy kind of the gators and the wildlife there. But that is the only time I've ever seen it. I did see one. Well, no, that's not true. I did see one at Blackwater River State Forest one time, but that's even rare there. I go tubing there quite a lot. That's just tubing down river. It's super fun. And I did see one time over in a bank that was clearly away from people. It was clearly not trying to get near all the people tubing and stuff like that. And that's it. So most of the times that I've ever seen them were out in public. I've never been in my backyard. I've never had to worry. I had a small dog who passed a couple of years ago, and I never had to worry about her. I've got a creek in my backyard with water running through it that one could be living in. Like never, ever, ever had to worry about it. So I want to squash it, but I am going to have to keep saying it on this channel because it does get brought up quite a lot. In this area of the Panhandle, it is just not something we need to worry about. So those are the 7 big cons that we have for living here in Destin, Florida, but there are a lot of pros with this. I didn't want to do a pros and cons video again where I kind of pair some of the cons with some of the pros. But if you enjoy the beautiful beaches that we have, all of the great water sports, water activities, going out on a boat, enjoying Crab Island even, the nightlife, the restaurants, some of the shopping, like all of the great things Destin has to offer, then I'm sure you're listening to this going, those 7 cons, like that's part of it. I'm okay with those. Like a lot of these are things that a lot of people already know, but we have to bring them up just so that people are wildly aware of what it's like to live here in Destin. Again, I don't want anybody surprised. They want to move down here. They give my team a call, which, by the way, is all on the screen. And we move them down here, and 3 months later, they go, I hate it, especially because we have a love it or list it for free program. Like, we will sell your home for free if you do not like the home that you're living in within 6 months of moving in. So that's the last thing we want to do is get you to move down here, and then we've got to help you get back out to a different area. We want to make sure you guys enjoy this area. So thanks for watching. Again, all of my contact information is on the screen. You can call, text, email, however you want to get a hold of us. Hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya.